Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Oh, boy. This is something I'm guilty of. The biggest lie that I tell myself is, I don't need to write that down. I'll remember it. That doesn't work, let me tell you. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Monday, my goodness, August 10th. And a good morning to you on a beautiful, absolutely phenomenal August morning. Zeb at the Ranch, and of course we're brought to you by your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of tires in a very safe, clean environment. Don't forget to stop in and see them today, along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Little Miss Sunshine, this morning. Appreciate that. All right, take care.
Started.
All right, there you go. Thank you very much. We're going to start things off right away this morning with our weather forecast, brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn, right on the Burley-Paul Highway. They offer the best of tools and equipment to finish any job, any task, I bit my tongue again. I've really done that quite a bit lately. Construction project. There you go. Articulate. And, of course, all you need to do is just give them a call. If you're not sure what you need for any kind of a job, they can help you. They will. 678-3122. Ouch. Roger and the crew at K&R Rental. Here, Gina, come on in here for the weather.
This high-pressure system will be sticking around for this week. Highs are going to be in the upper 80s to low 90s. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Today, sunny skies with a high of 86, a slight breeze out of the west, gusts as high as 21 miles an hour. Tonight, we are expecting clear skies with a low of 54. Tomorrow, sunny, high of 91. Still a little bit breezy, partly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 58. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, sunny skies. Highs going to be in the upper 80s. That's look at your weather for 7th Ranch.
Summertime, August time, absolutely great weather. Thank you. Right now, currently 63 degrees outside my studio. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. Yep, call Roger and the crew, 678-3122, K&R Rental. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Want to also remind everybody about our friends, dear friends, and they have been for a long time. Daryl's Cleaners. Nobody does the job that they do on your clothes, I'm telling you. The very best of dry cleaning to give long life to your clothes. You paid a lot of money for them. You might as well take care of them. Stop into Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And don't forget, too, if you haven't had time to do your washing, they'll take care of it for you. Wash, dry, fold, everything, all set for you at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Really, really nice people. And as I always do every morning when I start the program, when I talk about nice people, I have to mention our dear friends, Ramsey Heating and Electric. I thank the world and all of these folks. They've done so much to help us over the years, and everybody in the sound of my voice, because, man, I'll tell you what, they've got all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. And with these warmer temperatures, you don't want to sit inside your office or your home and sweat. They've got all the filters for your air conditioning units to make sure that you're going to stay cool. Stop in. See them today. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Caller, good morning to you.
Well, good morning to you, Sam.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Well, I go to the doctor this morning and I get the spirits out of my nose. And this has been a terrible, terrible time for me.
Well,
it's good to hear you.
Well, I'm so sorry that you're not feeling 100% and ready to run to third base and possibly score, but I know you're going to feel better.
Well, how's your blood pressure?
Why? What are you going to do to it?
Well, I'm going to work it up a little bit.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. 1969, Congress come up with a bill. It's called Truth in Lending. And that's where everybody had to tell the truth about what the interest rate was.
Mm-hmm.
Finance companies just went nuts because they've been lying to people for years. They tell them, oh, this is an add-on. This is that and the other. But anyway, it's made a better America out of us because they have that. Now, why can't we have truth in reporting law?
Well, there should be. The journalism is absolutely lacking with any class and any professionalism. I'm criticizing my own media, but I absolutely am appalled as to the left-wing slant that they've taken, and a lot of the media is not even covering important stories because it might jade their point of view. I'm sick of it, Keith. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what kind of a great big bar of soap and a sponge we can do to clean it up. It's getting worse every day. I listened last week. I'm kind of glad you brought this up. I listened last week on Thursday and Friday night after I came in from doing chores, and I kind of flipped the dial around a little bit to listen to CNN and MSNBC. Despicable reporting. Very biased and slanted reporting, and not the news. That's not the way it should be.
Well, you know, in truth in reporting, look at that. I won't call him any names because he isn't worthy of it. But the guy that's running for president, he tells a lie, but it does not become a lie. It becomes a gaffe.
Yeah, a gaffe, yeah.
What in the world is this country coming to?
I agree with you.
Truth in reporting.
No, I agree with you 100% that there is the journalistic viewpoints of the old days of Walter Cronkite and Huntley and Brinkley, and they reported the news. You could sit and discern what you thought after you heard the news, but it's not like that anymore. Keith, God bless you. I'm glad you're home. I'm glad you're feeling good.
To say,
What's that?
you know, 20 years from now, people are going to look back and say, well, you know, there's one guy that told it the way it was, and his name was Zeb Bell.
Well, I appreciate that.
We have more people like that.
I appreciate that. That's very nice of you, and I'm going to continue stepping on toes. So thank you very much. Appreciate it, buddy, and I'm so glad you're feeling better. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, what's that blood pressure?
Okay, thanks, Keith. God bless you. Hey, don't forget Dino Septic Service. They do a job that you and I don't want to do. And they've got all kinds of new equipment, you know, like a camera they can drop down through the piping and everything to find out what the problem is. Oh, it goes sneakily down the drain and finds where the problem is and how to correct it. Absolutely, all the septic tank pumping and the liquid waste removal and the sewer and sink drain lines lines clean. All of this with a great backhoe service and mainline irrigation installation and repair. They're good at Dino's Septic Service. Absolutely. Fast, fair, friendly service. Call them 436-6526 or 678-1638. I'm talking about Dino's Septic Service. Real quick, of course, the Cassia County Fair. My goodness, there's a lot of merchants that want to remind you, don't forget the Cassia County Fair. Mountain Transmissions, 1146 East Main in Burley with old Rick and the crew. I'll tell you, free towing within 50 miles, free diagnostic, free estimates. They are your one-stop transmission repair facility, Mountain Transmissions. Kelly's Bearings at 1407 East Main in Burley. Kelly's Bearings keeps everything on hand so you don't have to waste your time or money. They've got all the bearings, the chains, the brackets, everything. You stop in and see Zach or Brett today at Kelly's Bearings. And Baker Brothers Pump Service. My goodness, I know these people are good. At 103 West 500 South of Burley. Fastest and most reliable pump service company, and that is the truth. You give them a call, 678-9042. Baker Brothers Pump Service. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Don't worry about your memory. I'm at that stage now where I'm all brains and no memory, but I'm still doing good.
What do you lose or have a problem with every day? Do you have anything in particular that bothers you every day?
Yeah, I do.
What?
We got a bunch of Antifas out there, and nothing more than a bunch of hired mercenaries.
True.
Hired by foreign governments to destroy America. And then people don't realize what's going on.
Well, there's a complete turning the other, I guess turning your back on the problem is the best way to say it. The Democrats won't acknowledge that Antifa even exists. The Democrats won't acknowledge there's a major problem. The Democrats won't acknowledge that 73 days of Portland riots and burning. And the Democrats won't acknowledge that last night in Chicago, it was absolute chaos with rioting and burning. I mean, what's the matter with this picture? It's the Democrats that are the problem with the picture.
Well, the Nancy Pelosi is going to send her Secret Service over to protect you in case you have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, if this thing keeps going the way it is, defunding the police, what's going to stop these people from ravaging your neighborhood, breaking into your house, raping your wife, your daughters, and you have nobody? And maybe the Democrats want your guns confiscated. You got nothing to protect your life with.
Well, I know, Tony, and I was being facetious when I started the phone call because I'm always losing my truck keys. I can't keep a truck key. If I had that truck key in my hand, I'd lose it. But whatever you're saying is 100% correct because I know that in Seattle, they're going to be voting in the next couple of days to totally disband and defund the police, which absolutely, it's insane. I never thought in my lifetime I'd see the insanity that's going on in this country.
Oh, about the memory thing?
Yes.
I've got notes all over the house. If I think of something, I write it down because otherwise it's going to go by the way it is. The Buffalo.
I like that. Hey, Tony, take care. God bless you and Mary. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Go by the way of the buffalo. I like that one. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant. Oh, good eating for you, your friends, family, everybody. Oh, they've got 2 locations, of America's Diner. 611 North Overland in Burley and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Thomas and Michelle and the rest of the crew, their main objective every day is to make sure that you enjoy great food at Denny's Restaurant. It's the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and I urge you to stop in, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, anytime, all the time, they're serving you at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Yep, it's true, America's Diner. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning. At the Burley Senior Center today, we're having sweet and sour chicken. And it's going to be yummy. All the trimmings for only $5.
Holy moly, you can't beat that with a stick, Joe. I said you can't beat that with a stick. That sounds like a goodbye.
Yeah, it is. And we welcome one and all.
Well, we'll
Your participation.
all right, buddy. We'll send everybody over there to the Senior Center on Overland in Burley. Joe Taylor, God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, sir.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Real quick, we'll take some more phone calls, and then I want to talk about the cancel culture, how ridiculous it's getting and becoming and going to hurt all of us. I want to remind you about the urgent cares. Absolutely, Riverview Urgent Care in Burley at 382 North Overland, and, of course, Urgent Care of Twin Falls, 2392 Addison Avenue East, and the Urgent Care of Jerome, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. $10 sports physical special, and 100% of the money will be donated back to your school's athletic program. And this is valid for the entire month of August. You better get on in there, please. Physicals are normally $20, no appointment necessary, now just $10, and the money going back to your school. Get on in there and get all ready for back to school, back to sports with the Urgent Cares. Absolutely, really nice people. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The cancel culture is changing, destroying, and breaking apart and denigrating everything in our past. The statues, the plaques, the paintings, the murals, you could go on and on and on. And now, NASA, the National Administration for Space, etc., they are going to remove what they say people have complained about, so-called offensive names of some of the planets. This is so absolutely ridiculous that we're falling in lockstep with this idiocy. You know, I read a little letter to the editor in the Times News the other day, and by a Twin Falls woman, and her husband have been involved in politics locally, etc. And she was advocating that we cancel Columbus Day, and those of us that don't agree with it are bigots, basically. And we go to calling it Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm not going to do that. I am telling you right now on this program that if I'm still on the air and God lets me, the next Columbus Day, it will be called Columbus Day. Easter will be called Easter. Christmas will be called Christmas. I'm not going to back up and follow in lockstep the absolute lunacy that's going on a situation that's all based on hate of America. I'm not going to do that. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm done with this cancel culture. I mean, they're going in and they're trying to cancel everything. These people on the left are making lists of television programs from the past and movies from the past, much more so than Gone with the Wind. And they're making all these lists up, and I was reading a story about this the other day, and they're presenting them to networks and all the cable networks, etc., and saying, we demand you stop these movies and or television shows because of the depiction of this and that and the other thing. When is this going to stop? When is this going to stop? You know, the movies, whether it's John Wayne, and he had a couple of movies he made about the Civil War. All of these movies, all of the Westerns on TV, they want to make sure that there's a lot of cancellation there and that those repeats and reruns are taken off the air. The cancel culture, now with NASA, and they're going to sit down and figure out what names of various planets are possibly offensive to someone, and they're going to change them. Folks, you got to comment on this. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, boy, just a few minutes ago we talked about our great big Cassia County Fair and Rodeo coming on, and I want to urge everybody to be a part of it this year. They've got a lot of big doings coming on for the county fair, and I'm stalling for just a minute until I can find my sheet. Here it is. Coming up next weekend, oh my goodness sakes, Saturday to Saturday, 15th through the 22nd, the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo, and next Saturday is the Neil McCoy in concert at the fairgrounds. You do not want to miss him. He is a high-energy entertainer. You're going to love it. Neil McCoy. Get your tickets now. Call the fair office. And then Sunday, August 16th, the Monster Truck Insanity at 6 o'clock. Oh, that'll be big, big, big. And Monday and Tuesday, August 17th and 18th, the Moto Rodeo, and we're going to have much more about what's going on during the week. So don't forget the kickoff next Saturday of the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo for 2020. All right, your turn. Give me a jingle. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear from you. Please give me a jingle. I think what we'll do while we got a little lull here, I think I'll go ahead and give away a dozen cookies. And I thought I would be really, really nice this morning and give you an easy one for a dozen cookies at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. What a wonderful restaurant. What a delicious bakery with all the pies and the cakes and the really, really fancy wedding cakes and the cookies and the muffins and, oh boy, you name it. And if you win, all you got to do is call them and let them know when you'll be in to pick up your cookies at Sophie's Chatterbox. Here is the question for today. And the first person that calls 436-2244 with the right answer is going to win the cookies. What Clint Eastwood 1985 movie was filmed north of Sun Valley? What Clint Eastwood 1985 movie was filmed north of Sun Valley? Give me a call on that, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And you might be the lucky winner of the cookies from Sophie's Cookies. Quickly, give me a call. I'll say the question one more time. What Clint Eastwood 1985 movie was filmed north of Sun Valley? Give me a call quickly, 436-2244. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, High Plains Drifter.
No, you're wrong. Thank you, caller. Appreciate it. That's not right. Caller, are welcome at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And it should be pretty easy. Let's see what this caller's got to say. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, I'm waiting for you.
River of no return. River of no return.
Nope, that's not right. Thank you. Appreciate the call. I didn't think this one was going to be hard at all. I thought this was going to be a slam dunk, just absolutely down the court and put it through the net. We've had two no answers that are right, or not right. And caller, good morning. You're on the air.
River of no return.
Nope, that's not right. Thank you. Appreciate it. I've had two River of No Returns, and that's not the answer. What Clint Eastwood movie, made in 1985, was filmed north of Sun Valley? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. The Pale Rider.
And who is this?
This is Jeff Thrall. I was up there during the filming of that movie.
So was I. So was I. It was Pale Rider. They filmed the lion's share of the movie here in the state of Idaho. They built a western town north of Sun Valley up on a mountaintop, and then they filmed about maybe another third of the movie down in California. But it was Pale Rider, and it was in 1985, and you are the winner of the cookies.
Well, whoopee.
All right.
I was up there working as an auto mechanic at the time.
Well, I tell you what, I was on the set. My wife and I went up, and we were guests invited up to be on the set. And in the one scene where Clint Eastwood rides into town and talks to the blacksmith there just for a minute, we were standing around the corner inside that blacksmith shop watching this filming of that scene. So anyhow, it was Pale Rider. Thank you very much for your call, Jeff. Appreciate it.
You too, Zeb. Have a wonderful day.
All right, thank you. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. All right, did you hear that in Chicago, more violence, more burning, more looting, more shooting, and this time it wasn't all in the south part of Chicago. It was on the Magnificent Mile, very glitzy-ritzy shopping area. I'll tell you why in a few moments. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, I wasn't right about the Pale Rider, but did you know right across the highway there's a hill going out of Sun Valley where that was filmed, and just on the other side of that highway is where James Arness lived.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I did not know that, but I don't think where the set was for the movie that it was right across the road from James Arness. No, it was in a more remote position.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was up on the hillside.
Yeah. And that was kind of interesting.
That would be where he lived at that time.
And James Arness, I don't know if you knew this or not. I don't want to turn this into a movie trivia hour, but James Arness, who do you suppose recommended to the studio that James Arness star in the TV show Gunsmoke? Who do you think really brought forth the number one recommendation for James Arness?
I don't know who it was, but he must have been a good guy.
Well, he was John Wayne.
Really?
Yes.
Well, we couldn't have won the Second World War without John Wayne.
There you go. Thanks, Keith. Appreciate it. Appreciate your call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Just a little side note, in the movie Hondo, James Arness was one of the character actors in that movie, and after that movie was filmed, it wasn't long after that John Wayne made a recommendation that James Arness should star as Matt Dillon in Gunsmoke. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
My friend, how are you?
I am finer than a frog hair split 4 ways today.
Well, what can I try to attempt to help you with?
Well, one thing, you're talking about the Cache County rodeo.
Yep.
Fair and rodeo coming up.
Yes.
I've heard some stuff that I think people don't know, and they need to know about what's going on there. The city of Burley, and this is a fact, and I'll take this to the bank. The city of Burley charges the county $10,000 to remove the trash. There is a trash company said they would do it for nothing if they had some advertising and some billboards put up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it sounds to you have a little bone of contention about this, right?
Right. Well, I thought the governments would try to work together, but yet the city requires them to follow city code if they do anything there, but then there's times when they go to do something, they say, no, you're the county, you got to follow county code.
Uh-huh.
Because the fairgrounds is county. It is not city property. It's county property. But yet the city will not allow the county to get the cheapest bid so they can carry the fair out and be more economic about it.
You're making some points that I'm sure you're probably very well studied, and you're also talking about something that you kind of hit me cold turkey on this, and normally I like to prepare on different subjects, and you got me on this one, man.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I was going to call you this weekend, and I had that part-timers kicked in, and I didn't get a chance.
The only thing I'm going to say And I think this is true in a lot of cases, Doug, so bear with me on this analogy, please. But recently, you've probably read in the paper where the city of Murtaugh, with their impact zone, they wanted to make a larger impact zone and go across Highway 30, and they made an appeal to the county commissioners. Well, honestly, at the last meeting that most of us went to, because it affects a lot of us property owners, I think it's fair to assume that the left hand didn't know what the right hand had in the cookie jar, or the left hand was stealing brownies. I mean, I'm really upset that the county and the city really didn't know more about who was responsible for what.
Exactly, and that's what's going on here in Burley. I wish the commissioners for the county and the commissioners for the city could get together and work together. But no, they've got their own little deal going, the city, and like I say, and you can take that to the bank, it's $10,000 they charge the county fair board to get rid of the trash.
Well, regardless of the circumstances, I think it's fair to say for all citizens in all situations, regardless of city and or county, it's about high time to have it all in black and white, have it defined so that people really know what's going on. I saw that happen right here in this little burg of Murtaugh with the impact zone and the county commissioners, and it's about time they dotted the I's, crossed the T's, and figured out really who has what.
Exactly. And then back to what you was talking about, Chicago. This Antifa, I watched Bill Barr on Mark Levin this weekend, and that man is, I have the highest respect for him.
Yes.
And he says that this Antifa is worldwide. They are being supported by somebody. He didn't say, but they are very well organized, and they're like fish in the ocean. They'll get in a school of fish and swim with them. They use the First Amendment to get their things going. They get in with these people that really have a gripe and want to voice their First Amendment. They get in there, and then they start agitating and flare up the crowd and get them to doing this stuff.
You know, the problem, and I heard more of that this morning, there was some commenting on this situation with Antifa and Bill Barr earlier this morning on Fox News, and Barr made the comment like you had alluded to just a moment ago. They are so well organized and so well orchestrated and so well funded, it's absolutely a crime. A crime that the Democrats won't acknowledge Antifa and the evil that they're promoting.
Well, not only just the Democrats, there's a lot of Republicans.
I agree.
That will not put them down.
I totally agree with your statement there. And after listening to Bill Barr, I heard the same interview. And then listening to excerpts again afterwards, we've got a real problem in this country. And Tucker Carlson last week on Friday night laid it out in a very schematic fashion as to where we are, how bad things are getting, how influenced this all is by China because they want us to fall apart so they can jump in and take over. And if you can't see that, well, all the forest of the trees, you must have one standing in your eyesight because, man, it's so obvious what's going on right now.
Well, even Ray Charles could see that that's not right.
You have got that 100% correct. You know, I got to tell you something real quick before I let you go. There was something in the news this last weekend that a lot of people may have overlooked, but the ACLU, did you hear about what they're demanding? The American Civil Liberties Union is demanding a release. Now listen to this number of 50,000 prison inmates. These people are in there for murder, bank robbery, assault, on, and they say, oh, it's inhumane, let's let them go. 50,000, Doug.
Yeah, so that they can do like that one guy that was in prison for raping this gal. They let him go because of COVID.
Yeah.
He was out and he murdered his accuser.
Yeah.
I mean, is that why they want to let him go? They want lawlessness, and just like Adrian's been saying, they want a federal police force. which a federal police force is like Nazi Germany.
Well, and what happened? And what happened in Chicago is another story that quickly needs to be elaborated on. I'll tell you what, stay on the line just for a quick second. Stay on the line just for a quick second. Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts, 3 locations to serve you. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Hello, good guys over there. 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin with Eli and the Nampa location. Don't forget they've got all the Bobcats, everything, and they've got all the trenchers and the scissor lifts, and they've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators, everything you need for lifting and digging and pushing and carrying. They've got the equipment and the knowledge, and they can teach you how to run it too. Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts, Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Here's what really bothered me about that story in Chicago with the what happened to stimulate the riots and the looting and the burning on what they call the Magnificent Mile in Chicago, where it's basically the high rent district with the top stores, etc. A black man had been earlier in the evening shooting at police, and police returned fire. And for some strange reason in today's society, the cops are not supposed to protect themselves. And that ignited all of this stupidity in Chicago, Doug.
Yeah. I mean, so that black man's lives matter, but what about the police officers he was shooting at?
You got it. You got it.
Were they, I mean, it's crazy what they'll use. And they're just using it. They need it. They don't need an excuse, but when something like that happens, they go nuts. Where are they when 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 10-year-olds get shot in their bed and killed? Where are they on that Black Lives?
Yeah, and the montage of pictures that was put on the air of, and this really cracks, it just reeks the tears right out of my eyes when I saw some of those little children, a little boy, 18 months of age, with a big smile on his face, and a little girl that had been shot and killed, etc., for nothing, for absolute nothing, in a war-torn area of Chicago that needs to be cleaned up. And when I say cleaned up, they're going to have to go in there, and violence will occur. Noses are going to get bloodied, and rightfully so.
Exactly. You know, and that one little girl was shot and killed as she held her granddad's hand crossing the street.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of grandparents out there, and that right there just, that just tears me up what that grandpa's going through.
I just do not understand. I don't understand why, since the beginning of the spring, we have accepted lawlessness. We have accepted crime and criminality and shootings and beatings and lootings. Why? Why aren't we going in? Why aren't the mayors coming down on these people and just absolutely with an iron fist putting them behind bars, locking them up, or whatever it takes to put a sanity of civilization back together?
Because they hate President Trump.
You've got it.
He is doing, so they would rather see this nation fail as to support President Trump.
I agree. I got to run. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it so much.
Oh, and there's one more point I'd like to, real quickly. Have you noticed any statues being defaced or trying to be tipped over lately?
Not in the last couple of days.
Or about the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Because that's when President Trump says we're going to enforce this law that is on the books, 10 years in prison for defacing statues and government property.
Would you, Doug Martin, and any of your close friends, what do you think would happen to you if you would, let's say that there was a statue of Nancy Pelosi? Oh, brother, that's a terrible thought.
One of Obama I'd like to see removed.
All right. Well, you go out and do that this afternoon, and I don't think you're going to see the light of day for a long time.
Exactly, because we're conservative.
That's right.
And what General or H. Rajiv Barr was saying that the media is the one that is the big instigator. They're the ones stirring the pot to keep us divided.
Absolutely. Doug, appreciate it. I got to go. Thank you so much. I want to remind everybody about Save on Shells with Anthony and the entire staff over there at Save on Shells. This guy is so good, so talented, and so knowledgeable with camper shells for your pickups. That's right. He will save money. You'll save money with this guy. You got to get a hold of him. 1827 Overland in Burley. Let me tell you, I've bought a couple of camper shells already from these folks, and they really know. Quality, absolutely. Service, the best. Low prices, I urge you to get a hold of Anthony today. I'm going to give you the number, 312-1525. Didn't get it written down? 312-1525. You don't have to look any further than Anthony at Save on Shells, 1827 Overland in Burley. Absolutely one of the best. Caller, I'm going to ask you to be very patient for a minute because I've got to get a weather forecast on real quick, and I will come right to you. Do not hang up. I'll be right there. Want to remind you that the great folks at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids have moved to a larger space on the Minidoka Memorial Hospital campus. That's right. Easy to find. They're still right behind the Minidoka Hospital, and all you have to do to make an appointment is call them at 312-0957. They are serving your hearing health. Don't put it off. Get a hold of Mount Harrison Audiology, 312-0957. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
This high-pressure system will be sticking around for this week. Highs are going to be in the upper 80s to low 90s. There's a look at your weather forecast. Today, sunny skies with a high of 86, a slight breeze out of the west, just as high as 21 miles an hour. Tonight, we are expecting clear skies with a low of 54. Tomorrow, sunny, high of 91. Still a little bit breezy, partly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 58. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, sunny skies. Highs going to be in the upper 80s. Now, let's look at your weather for Zebedee Reyes.
Thank you very much, Gina. Don't forget, hearing affects every aspect of your life, and I know who you can trust. I went there. They helped me. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And, of course, you give them a call, 312-0957, the very best serving you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Zeb. It's all about, transforming this country into a communist country. And you got George Soros and other socialist communists that are financing all this. When they bring in pallets of bricks, to store at cops, but I come up with a new BLM stands for burn, loot, and murder. And that's what BLM really stands for. And it's just sad, but this is all about transforming this country from a constitutional republic to a socialist communist regime. And they've been wanting to do this for a long time, and so they just use George Floyd for the excuse, the springboard. But this was all set in motion way before then. They were ready to go, and we better take a stand pretty fast. And thank God we've got local police and sheriff here that are supporting us as citizens. But if they capitulate to the federal government, then we will basically have a Nazi Germany, communist China situation.
Well, the word you used was transforming, and you're not wrong in usage of that word, but it's also the word destroying. They want to destroy the American fabric of our values. They want to destroy our Constitution. They want to destroy all the greatness that this country has had for over 250 years. And we've got to put a stop to this. Whether it's we the people or whomever, we've got to stand up. This has got to be stopped, or this country is doomed with any kind of civilized society as we've known it since our forefathers gave their blood, sweat, tears, and lives.
Well, absolutely. And of course, one of the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto was that religion, meaning the Christian religion, is an opiate of the people and it had to be destroyed.
Yeah.
Well, we see that happening. I mean, the churches are basically still mostly shut down, or if you operate, you have to, with a lot of all kinds of rules and regulations, and it's just, that's violation of the First Amendment. Governor Little has done irreparable harm. I know a friend of mine's relative committed suicide right here in the Magic Valley because he was going to a support group, had a drug problem, but as soon as the edicts came down, no more support group, got back to drinking, finally just gave it up and killed himself.
I'm going to say something, Adrian. Adrian, hang on a second. I'm going to say something right here that you may not agree with, but it's an open forum, and your opinion is always appreciated. I'm not going to hang the blame on Governor Little. I'm not going to hang the blame on anybody here in the state of Idaho for what's happened. I mean, it was all brand new territory with COVID-19, and I think it's a little bit more than ludicrous and ridiculous to hang the blame on the governor himself. It was new territory. It was new territory for our President Trump. It was new territory for every governor as to what to do, how to do it, how to get it done, how to protect the citizenry. And I don't think it's fair to hang things on one man, and I honestly, I won't allow it on my program. I'm not chastising you because I value your input, but I think it's ridiculous to ask for... Wait a minute. I'm talking, Adrian. Wait a minute. I don't think it's fair to ask for the stupidity of recalls, etc., and I won't support that.
Well, here's what happened. If we would have done what South Dakota did, they never really shut down. They protected the elderly that were vulnerable, and they knew that this would be the case. And their death rate there, even though the state's been widely open, is about the same as Idaho per capita. And so all of this stuff, the governor has never even consulted the legislature. I know Scott Bethke, through a friend, he's not too happy about what the governor did. And unfortunately, this special session coming up, there may be an ulterior motive for the governor there because he made a medical decision. He's not a doctor, but he came out before it was controversial that hydroxychloroquine could not be used in Idaho.
Well, okay, we've gone on and on about this, and I'm not going to go any further on it.
Our governor, he needs to be pushed back.
All right, hold on a second. In fairness, Adrian, please. Oh, my goodness.
To be dictator, and I'm not going to stand for it, and a lot of our friends...
Nobody is associating the name dictator with Governor Little, and I find that offensive myself. I'm out of time right now, or I'd really like to pursue this with you further. However, it's got to be done in a professional manner, and I won't allow dictator and other names to be slung around regarding the governor, because I still maintain, with some of the people that I've talked to behind the scenes that are closer to it than you and I, that this was a training ground, and the ground was full of hand grenades, and nobody really knew what to do, how to do it, how to get it done, what to do to further the public health, etc. And I'm certainly not going to throw dictator at Governor Little. I got to run, Adrian, but I always appreciate your call. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, but that's the way he's acted. He hasn't listened to the people that represent us. I mean, our senators and our representatives. He's just done things.
We're going to have more people on the air, including senators and congressmen, talking about that, I hope, this week. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Anyway, so thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you, Adrian. Appreciate it. I want to remind everybody about our major sponsor, our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Oh, they've got all the tires. They've got all the tread designs. They've got all the knowledge to help you drive safely. Going to go see Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred before school starts? Well, take off and enjoy. These folks at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, they know tires. They know brake service. They know front end alignment, shocks and struts, and they know batteries. They can help you have a great, great trip. Absolutely. James and Buell, Dan on Poline in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert almost choked to death, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. One point I want to make right here. It's very easy And I've studied this and thought about it a lot. It's very easy to condemn and really be upset at people that are in various positions. But until we find out more about this coronavirus, and I'm frustrated about it because there doesn't seem to be an end in sight with the vaccine that is going to be working and taking the virus basically out of control, if you will. It's always going to be with us. And the one thing that is overlooked in this coronavirus, it's a Chinese virus. It was released by the Chinese. In condemnation of whether it's a governor, whether it's a senator, whether it's the president or whatever, let's point our condemnation where it is most needed, at the Chinese. A lot of people don't like that, but that's the truth. We'll be back in 7 minutes. Oh my, beautiful, beautiful Monday, August 10th. Zeb at the Ranch. Good morning, good morning. Brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you a very safe, clean environment, and you know the best in tires. And don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Let's hear from another great advertiser, Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, they love trash. They really do. They love trash at Western Waste Services, and they'd like to get rid of yours. That's absolutely the truth. All you have to do to get on the route service, it's so easy, is call them at 734-6969. Tell them where you live, and once a week they'll come by, get your garbage. It's gone. It's out of there. Absolutely the best. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. 734-6969. Want to also remind you that Hanson Mortuary, our dear friends, Joel Heward. Hello, Joel. I know he's listening, and we want to give him a great big shout out. He's so community oriented, along with his family and his staff at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. These are really nice people serving you and your family during a time of need. Believe me, they've got very flexible hours, and they always provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, and always with the highest ethical standards and unquestioned integrity. Remember, please, Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Real quick shout out to my old buddy Nick Greenwell, and I owe him an apology. I was supposed to call him here last week and reestablish another appointment with my old knees, and by golly, I got to get it done right after the program. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. The number to call, easy, 678-1191. I'll repeat it, 678-1191. Excellent staff of physical therapists, all the exercises, and the hydrotherapy pool, the only one of its kind in this area. You're going to be so happy you called to make an appointment. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, 678-1191. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I look forward to Mondays to having him on the air because he can add some common sense to what's going on in a world of idiocy. The president of Americans for Limited Government, Rick Manning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, Zeb, how are you?
Well, I wanted to ask you before we get rolling here this morning with some topics, whether it's Biden or whatever, this movement that's going on in this country to loot, burn, and destroy, and absolutely it's sweeping the country, whether it's Seattle, Portland, Chicago, all across the country. And then the Democrats basically in complete mind silence and mouth silence regarding Antifa, not acknowledging what's going on, not acknowledging the danger of Black Lives Matter. I just can't imagine that we've let things go this far, this bad, in less than 5 months.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. At some level, I find it incredible that we've managed, these cities have elected mayors who, Lori Lightfoot from Chicago spent her weekend arresting people who were at the beach on Lake Michigan, while the Antifa thugs were running amok, destroying the Miracle Mile in Chicago. So, we've got the elected people who are not morons. They are in fact leaders of the destroyers, because you were either in that position, you were either a leader or you're acquiescent, and either one is almost inconceivable. So, and because we're federalist, we have federalism, and states and localities are responsible for taking care of local law enforcement needs. The failure of localities to deploy law enforcement to protect property and to protect their own citizens is, I think it's a crisis that we have never faced before in our system. At least not since you can make a case that certainly we faced this in the South with Civil War, and then after Brown v. Board of Education, it was faced, and both times it was dealt with federal military response, and we're now facing this in many of our big cities, and the challenge is we're heading into an election, and the military is not inclined to want to respond to what they view as a political dispute, even though it is out-and-out revolution. So it's challenging.
I don't even know.
The president has been calling out National Guard where needed,
mm-hmm.
and doing so with and getting a lot of grief for doing so. And D.C. called out the National Guard because the D.C. National Guard and the mayor would not offer assistance to protecting federal properties. And as a result, the mayor then wouldn't allow the South Carolina National Guard to even sleep in hotels. The mayor instead said, sleep on the streets like you do in Iraq, which they did. To the shame of the city of the District of Columbia, which has no right to be a state. So that's that's the reality. It is, and the only thing you can do as the president is cause the National Guard to restore order and set perimeters like he did in D.C., which kind of shut down the protests in D.C. Or not protests per se, the rioting in D.C.
With the situation such as it is today, whether it's Antifa, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's Chicago, and now they've even increased their coverage, if you will, to the Magnificent Mile in Chicago, where some of the most elite shopping in the United States and Central America takes place, rioting, burning, and shooting. I mean, how high is up? I mean, that's a dumb and ambiguous question, but how high is up? How much further can this go before we, the people of the United States, are going to have to take up arms, honestly and seriously, to protect ourselves, our families, and our property?
Well, I think the first and foremost answer is if America accepts this and they elect Joe Biden president, if they accept this, then for all intents and purposes, it becomes the country is effectively lost in many respects. If we don't do our job is on November 3rd. We have to destroy
at the ballot box, destroy those who would destroy this country. Now, I will tell you the whole reason Nancy Pelosi is fighting so hard to try to fund pathways for cheating in elections is because she knows she can't win a fair vote, and so she's trying to cheat. That's just what the Democrats do, and that's going to be a really difficult situation because the Democrats are planning on having a prolonged battle over the legitimacy of the election.
Mm-hmm.
When President Trump wins, they're going to have that battle, and they're going to have Biden's already hired 600 election attorneys to be on his staff. I don't think the GOP has 600 election attorneys in the entire country. So we've got he's preparing to challenge every ballot everywhere in the country in an attempt to overturn results. And I would say he's not preparing; his campaign is preparing. So yeah, it's a real. We're in a dogfight for our country's future, and I've never been in anything quite like it. And quite honestly, I go between being angry, feeling despair, and then recognizing that God's in charge and I'm not. And
absolutely.
I just have to do what I'm supposed to do to try to bring His will to our country and to this world.
And I really respect you for. I respect you for what you just said. And going back to the ballots, though, I just had this morning early at 4:30 when I got into my office, I started looking at a story about 3 battleground states, Arizona, Florida, and Pennsylvania, and those states didn't even bother to respond to inquiries when they thought the balloting could be counted in those states. In other words, they're so uncertain about this election and how the ballots are going to be out, whether it's mail-in ballots or whatever. They said, we have no idea when they'll be counted. This is really scary for me because we may, on November 4th, not even have a clue for a long time to come as to who won the election.
Well, I think that's, the more you have mail-in ballots, the more you push people to voting remotely.
Yep.
The less control you have over the ballot box, the less ability you have to make sure that the votes are valid. And because those mail-in ballots are allowed to, if you're planning on 50% of your ballots being mail-in, then here's what you've got. Something is postmarked on Election Day. If I drop it in the mailbox at 5 o'clock on Election Day, it may not get delivered by the post office for 2 weeks. And so there's so at that juncture, you've got weeks until there will be all the votes will be in, and you want to talk, it's that's a system that's rife with fraud. It's rife with abuse. It's, for all intents and purposes, since we do not know and should not know who cast what ballot, we're going to have multiple ballots cast by the same person because there's going to be so many ballots out there. In California, just in LA County, 114% of the eligible people voted in the LA County election. Okay, so when you get more than 100, that means a whole bunch of people voted who weren't supposed to, who weren't eligible, and so that's your challenge. In places where they have extensive mail-in balloting, you end up with far more ballots cast than you have people who actually are eligible to cast them.
I sit here and I worry every day when I take my notes for this program and I start going over the cancel culture and then I start going over the rioting and the looting and 73 plus nights in Portland of dissension and absolute degradation of America. And then you listen to stories from the ACLU to where they're demanding the release of 50,000 inmates back into society before they've fulfilled any kind of justice whatsoever, and you sit there and you just want to tear your hair out wondering what in the heck happened to America.
Well, let me share with you something that happened to me this weekend, which I will say infuriated me to no end. And my wife did talk me off the ledge, but I'll share it with you and your listeners. I went to church. I knew that there was going to be a discussion of Black Lives Matter from the pulpit. The pastor chose to bring an African American female pastor up and essentially give her the stage for the 30 minutes of what the message was, accepting all the underlying premises of that white privilege and that Black Lives Matter is is more important than saying all lives matter, and just it was a tour de force of cultural Marxism. And my pastor's a pretty smart guy, but he didn't realize it. Okay, he didn't realize what he was doing. He didn't ask the question when she said, the institutional racism. Well, what institution are you talking about? Are you talking about the institution of our voting, where everybody gets a ballot? Is that the institutional racism? Where if you register, you want to vote, you get a chance to vote, and whoever gets the most votes wins? Is that the institutional racism? Is the institutional racism the fact we've got laws that protect people based on their color, creed, religion? Is that institutional racism? He didn't ask that question because the answer is they view institutional racism as being capitalism, as being institutional racism. We have people out there who are the Black Lives Matter supporters who say that math, 1 + 1 = 2, is white privilege. Okay? That's what we're dealing with. And my pastor sat there and gave the stage to that person, and didn't ask any questions that were even relevant. Under the guise of we need to have understanding, and quite honestly, my wife and I are having a pretty intense discussion about it. But he isn't getting any more of my money.
Yeah.
But it makes me sick that they've now taken away my church.
Yep.
Because the idiots who are trying to find some kind of unity don't understand that the other side wants complete, absolute surrender. And that is what they will not stop until they get it. That's what they're trying to get everybody to shut up and not talk about it. The cancel culture world that we're living in, that's what's being done by our Facebook and Twitter and all those, and Google. That's what they're doing in terms of shutting up people. When doctors came and talked about the benefits of hydroxychloroquine and not get shuttered, lose their jobs for saying something that is manifestly true. And yet some of those doctors lost their jobs because they talked about hydroxychloroquine. When we're having that level of censorship, yeah, we're in a battle. We're in a battle for the soul of the country. And unfortunately, the people who should be leading the battle in many respects don't even realize that the war is being waged.
You really told that story to the point where my heart goes out to you as a fellow Christian. I don't think I could have sat through the service. I probably would have got up and walked out. But I really respect you, the way you handled that. Let me ask you, in the time remaining...
My poor wife in the car was the benefit of my angst. So she's the one who needs praise because she put up with me when I got to the car.
God bless her. I want to ask you a little bit about this absolute fiasco that's called the Joe Biden running for president. Joe stays in the basement. Joe stays where there are multiple handlers nearby to help him defer or defray questions. And Jill Biden comes out in front of the press and does an interview in the same room, by the way, as the interview was taking place, instead of hiding in another room behind a computer. And it seems like she's turned into the mouthpiece for Joe Biden. And here we are a week from the Democratic National Convention, no VP named yet. And the talk is now that it might be Karen Bass, an avowed communist and lover of Fidel Castro. I've never seen such a tire that's gone flat like this one for Joe Biden.
Yeah, Joe Biden is proving that. Well, I think Representative Matt Gaetz from Florida had it right. The fact that his family is allowing him to continue his elder abuse. I mean, he is no longer capable of even standing in front of a microphone. It's just it's sad, okay? Joe Biden was never the sharpest tool in the shed. He never really was for 30 years, he's got a history of lying about his own background, and either he was too dumb to remember what happened, or he was just making stuff up and thought nobody would care. But so he's got all the prerequisites to be a successful politician in D.C. He's dumb enough he'll just mouth the right words, and he's willing to lie about anything. But aside from that, now we're seeing that he's not even able to mouth the right words. And every once in a while, he inadvertently tells the truth. So it's no, he's not capable of doing the job, and he won't pick Karen Bass. He's going to pick Kamala Harris, or he's going to pick Michelle Obama.
I agree.
And I think Michelle Obama is telling him no. Susan Rice is the other possibility, but if he picks Susan Rice, he's going to eat every single day the memo she sent on January 20th, right before the power was turned over, saying President Trump didn't know President Obama didn't know anything about any of the stuff that we talked about on January 5th and January 5th, which was where they planned the post-election coup. So yeah, she's going to eat the entire coup, and the press, we're going to be able to drive that down their throats. So they'll pick Kamala Harris as the least, as somebody they think provides them with the most potential upside vote, and and quite honestly, she's also proven herself to be incapable of handling a free-flowing conversation, because unless she has set-piece remarks where she lays in wait and attacks, she's unable to express her own ideas in a direct confrontation situation like a debate. So it'll be interesting, but I think at the end of the day he ends up with Kamala Harris, because I don't think Michelle Obama wants the job.
Absolutely. Let me give you a short question and a short answer in return. I'm almost out of time. But the incompetency and downright idiocy of Joe Biden making the statement months ago that I'm going to pick a black woman in politics to be my VP really painted himself and the Democratic Party into a corner that they can't really get out of. Isn't that true?
Yeah, with the Black Lives Matter movement basically rioting, anytime you get anything, they have any excuse. Imagine the riots in Milwaukee if he doesn't pick a black woman. It'll be, because Gretchen Whitmer's now moved back into being considered. There's always talk about Elizabeth Warren, who basically has whatever ethnicity she decides on the day. But it is it'll be a. Biden has a problem with African American voters already. If he picks somebody after promising a black woman being appointed, if he picks somebody other than a black woman, he will pay a massive price at the polls.
I wish there was more time, and I really do mean this when I say it. You are invaluable to coming on this program to me, because all of your knowledge. Rick Manning, President for Americans of Limited Government, thank you. God bless you, and I'll look forward to next Monday. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb. Look forward to it again, too. I love this program. It's great.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me on.
God bless you. I just thank the world and all of him, because he's such a straight shooter, of which we need much more of. Thank you, Rick Manning, and he's also, by the way, the co-author of the book. I want to plug this real quick with Star Parker. The book is called Necessary Noise. Thank you very much. Right now, I got to pay some bills, and I want to remind you about Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley. Oh, America's Diner. You know, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime, all the time, I am a very partial person towards breakfast, and I love those strawberry crepes. You got to try that. Please go in and do yourself a favor. Delicious food for any time of the day and all the desserts, but above all, they've got the nicest people serving you at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland and Burley, at another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Don't forget, it's true, America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. You stop in and see them today. Hey, by the way, had a good talk with Leland Snyder the other day at Snyder's Surplus, and I want to tell you, don't forget they've got all the books and the desk and the backpacks, and they've got all kinds of things over there for the kids in case they've got a little room in their own room at home. They can have their own desk and keep everything for school organized so they can continue with their education. Absolutely, they've got it all. To make a list of everything they have at Snyder's Surplus, I can't do it. I don't have enough time. They've got so much over there. They've literally got everything at Snyder's Surplus. 116 South, 200 west of Rupert, just 2 blocks south of the Rupert Golf Course. Don't miss them. By golly, they're good folks to know. And the number, 436-8000. Snyder's Surplus, serving you. We're going to have our next guest with us on the program in just a moment. First of all, I want to mention about getting out of your office, getting out of your house, and just go outside and enjoy. Go up in the mountains and enjoy. Get on a trail someplace and get away from the thundering herd on a four-wheeler or a side-by-side from Let's Ride. Yes, get your motor running. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 2. I urge you to stop over and just check out some fun. And along with that, with the side-by-side and all the four-wheelers, you know they've got all the accessories, everything you might need or want right there. And a super service department to keep you running. You better believe it. Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. Over in that same area, I also want to remind you, too, about our dear friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Hello, Todd and the crew. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more. They are very dedicated to serving your needs for you, your family, and your business. So please get a hold of them today. The number to call, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. The best serving you, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Let's go to the phone line right now, and with us is a man that's known as Mr. Dad, and he's the author of The New Father, A Dad's Guide to the Toddler Years. I'll tell you what, I've got a lot of respect for this man. Hello, Armin Brott. How are you?
Just great, Bill. How are you?
Well, I guarantee you I'm a little bit worried about the situation that's going on in our United States, the degradation of our United States, and the lack of caring, and quite frankly, the lack of our being civilized to each other. And when I read some of the notes about this morning's programs, it looks like we're not really helping with family situations because the birth rates were real low. Tell us about that.
Well, that's one of the things I think a lot of people were worried about. I remember at the very beginning of this pandemic, people were talking about how the divorce rate's going to be going up, and I got to say, I thought that was a little bit silly. I thought people were going to be spending more time with each other, and we will probably have a baby boom. But it's turning out that it's almost the exact opposite. I think people are spending so much time with each other, so much more time than we're used to. I mean, think back before this whole thing started 6 months ago or so. If you had both people in a couple working, they'd go off, they'd be spending 8 or 9 hours at the office, they'd have stories to tell. But now you're spending 24/7 with somebody, and you may discover that you don't really want to be with them quite as much. And then there's also the economic uncertainty. If you got one or both people are not working, or they're making less, and of course their bills have remained the same, their rent and everything else has remained the same, and so economic uncertainty is not something that makes you want to go and make babies.
What happened, in your opinion, Armand, to our society? And I go back, and I think I've said this to you before, but I got to say it again. I go back in my childhood when you would look at the covers of the Saturday Evening Post magazine, and you'd see mom and dad and little sister and little brother hand in hand going to church, or you'd see the entire family, grandpa and grandma, aunts and uncles, and everybody sitting around a table at Thanksgiving, sharing and caring as a family. Are we going to lose that?
Oh, I think we've already lost it. I would bet that the majority of your listeners can identify a time in the past year where they were at a restaurant and there were families sitting there, and every single person in the family had his or her head down and was playing on a phone. I mean, that's what's happened. We may have meal times in the same physical space, but we're not paying any attention to each other. And then there's exactly what you said, the horrifying, to me anyway, lack of civility. It used to be people had disagreements with each other, and they could shake hands at the end of the evening, or if they were family members, they could give them a hug, and they'd go home, and everybody would be okay. Now, the prevailing attitude seems to be, if you don't agree with what I say, you're an idiot, or you're a racist, or a bigot, or a bad person in some way. And I think that's a horrible place to be, is we don't listen. And if you don't listen to other people, you're never going to be able to learn anything. I mean, you learn you learn tennis by playing tennis with people who are better than you, who can teach you things. And you learn how to debate, and you learn how to confront difficult challenges by listening to other people and explaining your own ideas and having them explain yours. But what's going on now is we want to do what the phrase has become cancel culture. You know, if I don't like you, let's just get rid of you. You shouldn't have a job anymore. You shouldn't have a profession anymore. You shouldn't have anything. It's scary. I mean, I'm old enough, and I think you are too, to remember the Soviet Union and what it was, the Soviet Union. I was a Russian major in college, and spent a lot of time learning about Stalin and Lenin and totalitarian regimes, and this is exactly what it sounds like when you have people coming in and they want to airbrush people out of photographs. They want to burn books. I mean, this is what's going on. We're actually burning books. That should scare the heck out of just about anybody.
Yeah, but Armand, the simple question would be, and pardon me for sounding so naively simple on this, why? Why are we letting this happen?
Well, I don't think we have a lot of choice. I think that there's social media is really taking over. In the course of 30 seconds, you can reach millions and millions of people. The way that it used to be with Walter Cronkite or even Tom Brokaw and folks like that on TV is you'd have to wait until the 5 o'clock news or the 6 o'clock news or the 10 o'clock or whatever it was. But now the stories are being written in seconds, and they're getting out there, and there's no filter to determine what's accurate information or good information. Everybody who's got an opinion comes in at the same volume as people who actually know what's going on, and that's a terribly dangerous situation too. Is that just, I mean, not that regular people shouldn't have opinions, but I think that ill-informed opinions should not weigh the same as a scientific study.
Well, let me stop right there and inject this. The old days, and I'm an old man, I'm 72 in case you didn't know. The old days of news and journalism of the Walter Cronkite. Walter was extremely liberal and a Democrat, but he never portrayed the news to where it was slanted or biased in favor of his own personal opinion. Huntley Brinkley and others, they gave the news, they studied the news, they had correspondents that really went into the stories in depth so the American public could basically understand what's going on and form their own opinions. But that's ended, in my opinion. We are not allowed to form an opinion because we're given a jaded response to what happens in the news. Would you concur or not?
I would concur, and it makes me really sad to even think that. But I think what's going on now is that there are a lot of people, and my opinion, I think more of them are coming from the left, where they're saying what I heard and just popped into my mind. I heard this in boot camp when I was in the Marine Corps, If we wanted you to have an opinion, we'd tell you what it was. And that's the prevailing attitude in many circles seems to be that everybody is too stupid to have their own opinion, so we are going to tell you what to think. And if you don't think it, we'll get rid of you. And again, it scares me. It scares me that there is this elimination of thought, and I appreciate it so much. It wasn't that horribly distant past when there was an equal and even-handed portrayal of what the news was. Here's the story, here's the facts, and here's somebody on one side, and here's somebody on the other side, and let's talk about it, and you can make your own opinion. But now, the mainstream media, really and truly, most of them, I think all of them, have a very clear bias, whether it's to the right or to the left.
When we say this, and naturally the burning question in a lot of people and a lot of the listeners' minds right now, have we driven the bus so close to the edge of the cliff we're going to fall in? Can we ever change it? Can we ever start to create more of a civility attitude? What do you think? Have we gone too far?
Well, I think generally we've gone too far, but I don't think that it's too late. I think that individuals can make conscious steps. Starting with their own families. We're spending so much time with each other. Start with your own family and make it a practice to actually listen to what the other person is saying instead of just saying, you're an idiot, and getting up and walking out of the room. I think we can start with that. And if we're interacting with other people, you can interact in a more civil sort of way. And I think also monitor your sources of news. Make sure that if you're somebody who's would identify yourself as conservative, listen every once in a while to MSNBC. It may make you vomit, but you need to listen to what other people are saying, because there is often a kernel of truth. And if you're somebody who's very liberal, you ought to tune into Fox sometimes and listen to what they say. Again, you may have a horrible reaction to it, but there is a lot of truth there, not all of it. And I find myself going back and forth watching a variety of different sources, and I feel like those videos you see of a dog watching a tennis match with the head going back and forth between one station and the other, and you would sometimes think that you're not even watching coverage of the same event, even though you are. But we need to be aware of what other people are saying, and be in the way that you're thinking. Try to be more generous. Try to ask the question, why? Why is somebody saying that? And I think if you can get in the habit of asking that, and I try to do this with my kids, and I encourage them to do it, and it's hard for them. They're young. They're in their 20s. And they say, ask me, instead of just saying you're a racist or a sexist or whatever, why don't you ask me why I'm thinking this particular thing? You might actually learn something.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question for you. Go ahead, caller, please. You're on the air.
Well, in today's society, everybody's just waiting for the other person to be quiet, to shut up, so they can get back to talking themselves. They didn't hear a word the other person said. I could, if you disagreed with me, I could call you names and yell and scream and threaten you. And after it was over with, your mind was not changed one bit. That's the thing, see? If we don't somehow inform ourselves enough to know what is somewhat right and somewhat wrong, what is best for our country, what is best for the humanity of our country, then we can't save it. Sometimes when you're dealing with other people, though, they are so misinformed, or they're so in on the fix, they're so willfully ignorant that you couldn't have a logical conversation with them to save your behind, and it's frustrating because, you want them to care. I don't want you to agree with everything I do or say or think, but at least inform yourself enough so you kind of have you can make a decision, an educated decision. Thanks, I'll hang up. Bye.
Respond to the caller, please, Harmon, if you would.
Oh, I agree with him completely, and this is something that I've told my kids and I tell other people is, I don't really care what you think. What I care is how you think, and I think that's what the caller is talking about, is that there's a tremendous amount of sloppy thinking, which is dismissing other people out of hand. And I think it gets back to what I said just a minute ago. If we can get ourselves in the habit of asking why I think we might find that there are areas where we agree. I think that a lot of people on both the right and the left and in the middle would say that there are a lot of problems that are affecting life in the United States these days. We don't necessarily agree what those are, but we could probably find a couple that we agree on. But I think everybody would agree that there are a lot of problems. And I think most people, if you can make yourself a little bit more charitable and understanding, we could see that all of us actually want to make the United States, or most of us, I should say, want to make the United States a better place, a safer place for our kids, a place where we can have a house, where we can have a home, where we can afford groceries, we can take vacations. I think if we understand that about each other, then we can perhaps find those areas where we agree, focus on those, and have some reasonable discussions. And stay away from the ones where, as the caller said, where people are being completely irrational. That's true. You can't have a rational discussion with an irrational person. But most people have got spaces where they are rational, and you can find those areas of common ground and have some civil discussions.
I agree. Armin, we've got another call. Caller, quickly. I've got a few minutes left. Thank you.
Yes. You know, the problem is the left, they make this stuff up as they go along and everything, and it's a little hard to understand what they're doing. I think they have adopted a saying that one of my superiors told me years ago. Don't confuse me with the facts. My mind is made up. Thank you.
Go ahead and respond, please, Armin.
Yeah, I think that's just a tremendously dangerous thing, and I think facts, in my opinion, are the most important thing, and I think that it's important to counter ideas like defund the police, something like that, which you hear a lot about, to cut funding for the police departments or completely eliminate police departments, by saying, look, the people who are going to be affected by that are the people in the worst neighborhoods with the highest crime rates. They are the ones who are actually saying now, there have been surveys about this, they're saying that they want more policing. So this idea of defund the police doesn't make any sense.
One thing that I want you to comment on, Armin, and you mentioned the words earlier, sloppy thinking, and that generated a thought to me. Sloppy thinking goes all the way back to our education system, from kindergarten all the way through the university system. We have got a left-wing, sloppy thinking attitude in education today. Not all, but many and most of the teachers have a very liberal mindset with a disdain towards America. How are we going to clean that up?
Well, I think we can clean it up partly by having education at home, by talking to your kids about things, by exposing them to different ideas. And also, I think we need to push back about that. It's not right for teachers to impose their political views on children. It's just not right. And I think we need to be going to education board meetings, Board of Education meetings, and we need to be going to city council meetings and take advantage of the public comment times and complain about this stuff.
Absolutely.
And vote for people into the city council and into the Board of Education and the Board of Supervisors, whatever it is in your area, who at least are willing to think in an open-minded way. Now, I think, frankly, that there should be no politics until high school. I mean, high school, you need to start thinking about these things and debating some of the bigger issues, but there's no reason why a second grader should be having discussions about abortion or about police brutality or stuff like that. They don't need to know about these things. But you can counter some of it at home, and you can again push back against the sloppy thinking. I think that's really what it is just saying, well, I believe that.
Absolutely. Armin, one point I want you to make before I have to let you go in a couple of minutes, and it reverts back to what we started talking about in this half hour with fewer children being born to families in this country. My fear, and tell me if I'm wrong, my fear is that we're going to turn to a system of immigrating citizens to this country from other countries that don't share the same values of our Constitution, instead of raising children of our own in this country to grow up and appreciate all the blood, sweat, and tears given for them. Am I wrong or right?
Boy, that's a tough one. I think that I'm a believer in legal immigration. My family, many of them immigrated back in the late 20th century, or late 19th century, early 20th century, came in legally, and I agree that that's the way to go, and probably most of us in our background just a generation or two ago have immigrants, so I don't have a problem with that. I think people who are coming from cultures where they don't have the same values, it's a difficult one for me, because I think that we want to be the conscience of the world, in a sense, and help people who are being persecuted in their own countries. I don't know that they necessarily all have to come and live here. You've raised a big issue, and this is one of these issues where you and I would need to sit down over a beer or a cup of coffee or something and have a long discussion. It's one of these things you can't soundbite it and do it justice, because both of us may be coming at the issue from slightly different perspectives. But I think what you and I mean, I'm not saying that we disagree necessarily at the core, but as an example, we both want the United States to survive and thrive, right?
Absolutely.
But how we get there, it's unclear.
You're fascinating to talk to, and I hope you'll consent to coming back in the near future. The author of the book called The New Father, A Dad's Guide to the Toddler Years, also known as Mr. Dad, Armin Brott. God bless you, man, and come back soon.
Thanks a lot, Sid. Glad to be here.
Appreciate it, sir. Thank you. I'm going to have him back so we can continue our conversation again in the not-too-distant future. Armin Brott, thank you very, very much. Holy moly, time for the weather. Sean's sitting over there going, Zeb, look at the clock. I know. Here we go. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. They are the professionals. The best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, assistance with IRS communications, oh goody, and along with that also retirement planning, all of this and more with the professionals serving you in Burley and Rupert. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
This high-pressure system will be sticking around for this week. Highs are going to be in the upper 80s to low 90s. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Today, sunny skies with a high of 86, a slight breeze out of the west, gusts as high as 21 miles an hour. Tonight, we are expecting clear skies with a low of 54. Tomorrow, sunny, high of 91. Still a little bit breezy, partly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 58. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, sunny skies. Highs going to be in the upper 80s. Now let's look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. And, of course, the weather brought to you by our friends and your friends that really can help you, your family, and your business. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Offices at 1710 Overland and Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Please take my advice. Contact the professionals. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Wow, we got a lot of things going on, and starting this next weekend, of course, the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo, and I want to remind you, some of the merchants that want you to be sure and come to the Cassia County Fair, and they include Mountain Transmissions at 1146 East Main in Burley. Oh, hello, Rick, how are you? 678-9110. When your transmission, you put it in drive and you back up, there's something wrong. I'll tell you what, they've got free towing, free diagnostic, and free estimates. Your one-stop transmission repair facility, Mountain Transmissions on East Main in Burley. Golden Valley Warehouse, hello. These are nice people at 468 West, 1000 South of Burley, 678-7324. And they're locally owned and operated for more than 35 years. And they've got all the quality seed for you. Thanks to the Adams family with Golden Valley Warehouse. And last but not least, Perkins Bakery and Restaurant at 800 North Overland and Burley, and believe me, the best of meals for your breakfast, lunches, and dinners, and they say it's a great place to unwind after being at the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo, Perkins Bakery and Restaurant in Burley, and those are a couple of the merchants that are inviting you to the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. Holy smokes, coming up next hour, let me see, I almost knocked my whole big pile of papers on the floor. I want to remind you we've got Michael Doherty coming up at 10:06, and he absolutely is going to be very, very interesting. He's the president of LabMD, an Atlanta-based clinical and anatomic medical laboratory, going to be talking about the vaccine possibly for the coronavirus, so don't miss that. And then at 10:30, we, of course, have Dog Days, and we certainly appreciate that. Trying to find some homes for some of the dogs that maybe have been left homeless, and so Deb Hines is going to be on the air with us. Want to remind you, too, about Patterson's Electronics. Oh, when it comes to electronics, when it comes to TVs, when it comes to home theater systems, when it comes to video surveillance cameras, car stereos and speakers, all the complete sound systems, all your cords, all your cables, woo! They know it all. They know it all, and they've got it all at Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Curtis and Lorena, nice people. You stop in and see them today at Patterson's Electronics in Burley. Let me see, what else have I got here this morning? I had another public service announcement, and I can't find it, but want to remind you that Lunch Bunch, that's one thing I wanted to remind you. Lunch Bunch is going to be a little bit later this month. It's going to be on the 27th. The 27th of August. So for all the Lunch Bunchers, we're going to be at Denny's Restaurant. That is going to be on the 27th, Thursday the 27th, at, of course, 11:30. So I want to make sure that if you're putting things on the calendar and saying, I don't want to miss Lunch Bunch, well, don't miss it. Put it on the calendar for Thursday, the 27th. It's a little bit later this month only because of the Cassia County Fair, and so we want to make sure everybody can be at Lunch Bunch. That's going to be at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, on the 27th. Thank you very much. Let me see if I got anything else real quick. Yes, I do. I've got to get this on real fast about our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Nobody has all the great furniture. Nobody has all the great mattresses. They're having a big sale on Simmons Beauty Rest mattresses right now. You having a sleep problem like I do occasionally? You better check it out. Simmons Beauty Rest mattresses, and they've got the largest selection of floor covering anywhere at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see these great folks. Jeff and the crew will serve you at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Right now, let's send it over to our main studio. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, here we go, hour number 3 on a fantastic Monday. Weather-wise, August the 10th. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the very safe, clean environment and the best in tires. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. I want to take a moment, if I could please, and tell you about, I want all the seniors in the audience to listen up and pay attention, because Greystone Crossing Senior Living may be just the place you're looking for. Located at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn on Alfresco Road, my goodness, they furnish 3 great big meals a day, plus snacks, plus housekeeping and local transportation. It's brand new and it's beautiful. A great place to live with your friends. Absolutely. Give Kelly or Matt Wiggins a call today at 650-4979 and make an appointment to see the facilities. 650-4979. Believe me, you're going to be glad you called. Greystone Crossing Senior Living on 21st Street in Heyburn. You call them today. Want to remind everybody, too, about 7K Metals. You know, we need to diversify, and we need to make sure we've got various and sundry things that are going to help our financial future. And silver purchases are just one thing you need to consider with 7K Metals. That's right, 7K Metals helping you build your financial security and future, and the silver purchases come right to your home. A great saving opportunity for you and a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. Get a hold of a couple of friends of mine, Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon at 430-3259. Tell them I told you to call, and they'll tell you all about silver purchases and 7K Metals. Right now, let's go to the phone line, pardon me, and the gentleman that we have next on the show has been on my program many, many times in the past, and I have a lot of respect for his opinion and his knowledge, especially on this subject of vaccines and COVID-19. And I say good morning to the president of LabMD. Good morning, Michael Doherty. How are you?
Well, how are you doing, sir?
Not too bad. Michael, tell me a little bit about your thoughts about the COVID vaccine. I don't trust anybody but you when it comes to vaccines. You've always been very straightforward. How far along are we in maybe finding some answers?
We don't know. And here's why. Because vaccines usually take 10 to 20 years. Or why haven't we cured the common cold? And we still haven't a vaccine for AIDS, but we've taken the teeth out of that through drug cocktails. And I say vaccine development's like a baseball game where one inning can be 3 up, 3 down, and you're done in 10 minutes, and the other ones can go on for hours. And the stages we're in right now is where most vaccine trials get derailed. So it's great that we have, all this money being tossed at it, because that's exactly what happened with defanging AIDS, although that still took years. And it's great that we have many eggs in one basket. But, I'm a little shocked at people's naivete. Of course, who knows? I mean, the media is just, our media is just such a complete waste of time. They're just theater, and they're sophisticated liars. They just give no frame of reference. They know how to cover their tails. They're terrifying, and their agenda is to make sure that we, no matter what we do, we blame Donald Trump.
Absolutely, yeah.
They've left the science wagon and they're living in the political wagon, and but history speaking, it's not going to be it. And then Fauci a few days ago covers his tail by saying, well, we're going to only be 50% effective, because that guy's a snake. He's a good one. He's really sophisticated. He's a very good deceiver.
Let me ask you this, Michael, and it's kind of a statement and a question. But the Chinese were the people, the government was responsible for this virus escaping. And it seems like in the last 3 or 4 months, all the blame has been put upon President Trump and others in his administration. And they blame the pandemic on Trump. And really the initial blame and the reaction should be China.
Well, that's because the blood's on their hand, and they can't get the blood off their hands. And they're unconscionable sociopaths that we've elected. It's politics. Truth doesn't matter. It's politics. Those people have absolutely no moral code. They're free-falling in constant kaleidoscope, Alice in Wonderland world. So the truth of the matter is, and truth never comes out of the media or D.C., that this has been built for decades as we handed over our infrastructure and knowledge and manufacturing to China so that we all could kind of, quote-unquote, get along. Because we've had this stupid idea that, despot, tyrannical, dictatorship governments turn into really sweet pussycats when you're nice to them. And so, and while in the meantime, they're laughing their head off, and, then they put a bag over our heads, they release this disease, they take no responsibility, they go after people in their own country that try to help, then the supplies they're making, which should have been made in our country or in the Western world, are on ships where they're like live auctions, where people are still bidding on the supplies of where they're going to go as they're coming. And so it's created supply chain shortages. You never hear stories about this on television. You're not going to see 60 Minutes cover this. They're not. The thing that the media does is silence and molding through story suppression and half-truthing. Lying isn't the right word. It's very sophisticated propaganda, and it's bearing information, and it's a culture of fear because if you don't do what your editor tells you to do, if you're over at the major networks or Washington Post or New York or the New York Times, you're not going to have a job.
Let me ask you this, Michael. Are you, with your professionalism in what you do and what you study and what you know, are you as convinced that the coronavirus or COVID-19 is as dangerous as they have perpetrated it to be? And along with that, a two-part question, are they doing the right studies in the right order, or should they be studying the seniors of our country back down to our juveniles? Tell me, please, what your thoughts are.
Well, you can't get light in a glass. I mean, you're never going to know, and hindsight's always 20/20. So, should they be studying? Yes. All right. Do we all need to grow up and understand that diseases are here forever? Sure. Do most of us understand that? I believe so. But the real issue is the fact that, things are getting better. I mean, we have shortened hospital stays. We have most people that get it don't get sick. We've got less people on ventilators, a smaller percentage dying. The only number that the media has that they can pound is the number of people that die each day. They don't tell you infected that aren't sick or sick that don't get admitted, that don't need to be admitted. Numbers on ventilators, not anymore. The average stays in hospitals shortened. I mean, there's such a good trend. I mean, it's amazing to me that suddenly the mainstream media has encouraged the public to be fearful and blame it on Trump so they can win an election. And it's just a live demonstration of how shameless they are and how much they'll exploit you and how they're not on the side of the American public, and that health care is something they'll also exploit to keep you afraid. And they're just banking on the fact that there's enough people in this country that are ignorant and manipulatable in this way that they will believe it. And that's the terrifying part, is using disease and health care to instill fear so that you submit and succumb. It's not what this country is built on. But the bureaucracy is so deep, it penetrates medicine, science, technology, academia, that they have a lot to lose if Trump gets a second term. They've tried to tie him up as much as they can the first term. And this is the battle this country's seeing right now, and it'll go on way past Trump. They'll just turn the heat on even more. There's nothing that's outside of their toolkit if you hold on to power. Nothing.
Michael, let me ask you this question, and I'm sure you've had it asked of you before. There's been the perpetration of thought by the media that if seniors get the COVID-19, it's almost an automatic death knell. I had a doctor on last week that said, no, absolutely not. Tell us about seniors and extenuating circumstances, whether they have heart disease, a kidney problem, or whatever. Is it really the virus as deadly as people say?
Well, no, because they're saying that because they're not giving any frame of reference or any context. Okay, is the flu as deadly to someone that's 30 as to someone that's 80? No. Is the flu as deadly to every person that's 80 just because they're 80? No. What matters? Your overall health. Are you taking? And this is the investment you make in your body in your 40s and your 50s and your 60s. And sometimes people get disease even when they have perfect health. I mean, I don't know where people think they're buying a product off the shelf and have to be able to storm back to get a money-back guarantee if their health is bad towards the end of their life. I mean, life just doesn't work that way. I hate to break you. And I am hopeful that most people, I'm sure that most people aren't that dumb. It's just the media is just that shameless that they'll try to have us buy this stuff. But but people do get diabetes, and they do get obese, and they do have heart disease, and they do have all these things that make you more vulnerable should you get a severe case of this. And there are things we don't know, and we don't know things because a bag was put over our heads. We invested decades into China. We gave them so much stuff, and this is our thank you note. And if we don't recognize this, it's our fault.
Let me ask you about the possibility, and there's Doctors Fauci and others that have maintained that we need to have a mandate on face masks and possibly even face shields or goggles. What good really is that going to do?
Well, that's just a control issue. And believe me, you give the government power, you'll never wrest it out of their hands. And this is, again, the terrifying number of people that conflict. So where do we draw the line here? Where do we draw the line? What diseases are going to make us up? We're going to have masks for the rest of our days. Of a woulda, coulda, shoulda. This whole, you could make someone else sick. So if you don't wear your mask, you're selfish. Well, guess what? People don't believe the government. They know they're liars. So what do? They pass a law. So welcome to the live demonstration of what life's going to be like if you vote for a Democrat.
Yeah.
Because these people thrive on this stuff, and they'll never give it back. And they're shameless, and they'll say anything because it's not about your health. These are not doctors. These are politicians. And politicians win votes on facts and fear. And Democrats are way big onto fear. And it's groupthink, and it's terrifying. And, what I've learned the last 10 years is facts don't affect these people. Go to San Francisco and tell me that they care about the health of their population. It is a filthy city. That's the type of thing that's like, you better get out and vote, and you better not give them power, because they will not do the quote-unquote right thing.
Michael, if you had the power today to wave the wand of Solomon and open up the schools, what are your thoughts? I'm seeing so much misinformation, and so many people are so overly cautious about opening up schools. We cannot let these kids stay at home much longer. They've got to get back with their peers into the classroom to further their education. What are your thoughts?
Well, this is where the media goes with their temper tantrum again. I mean, the schools are opening, and they're honing in on anyone that gets infected. Infected is not symptomatic. Infected is not sick. Okay, so but they'll do anything they can, because the voting population that is going to put Trump in the White House or Biden in the White House is the independent suburban mom. And the Democrats have blown it with saying it's okay to have police stand down. It's okay to have anarchy in the streets. It's okay to have them go out into suburbia and protest and ruin property. And so they want to make you think that crowd that says that's okay wants to make you think, well, we're going to protect your children in schools. So it's nothing more than a massive political gaslighting war. And they've just turned the volume way up, because I guarantee you, in reality, they know these polls are tightening, and they know they've completely overplayed their hand and potentially blown the whole thing with Black Lives Matter. That's why they put, these quote-unquote protesters that are anarchists on television and say they're protesters, and now that no one believes that, they've stopped putting the story up there. You don't see all the destruction on NBC, CBS, ABC. No. It's fine. Suppress that story so Biden wins.
Let me ask you about going back and reverting back to the vaccine, and again, your expertise on this subject. Too quick, too fast, too much in a hurry to develop a vaccine that may be only as effective as, like you said on your information sheet, maybe only 50%. Tell us about the vaccine itself. Are they going too fast?
No, there's no such thing as too fast. It's fine. It's not so much too fast. There's a ton of money into multiple avenues, And that's a good thing, and they'll learn things incidentally along the way, and that's a good thing. I just don't think it's ever going to work quickly. I mean, too fast is going to be if they have it ready, done, and no data and haven't tested it. That's too fast. You know, I mean, they're not going to have. They're not going to have. When they start hedging their bets and they start saying 50%, we'll see what happens when they get out of these trials. The world is not going to allow these vaccines to be a nightmare left and right. The point is, it's not going to happen. It's going to be like everything else. It's going to be a cocktail of offense. Right now, we have hydroxychloroquine. We have the Z-Pak. We have zinc. We've got the asthma breathalyzer. There's all sorts of things that the key to this at this point is early suppression of every disease. Stop it early. Stop it early. You know, people have this insane, I mean, what's happened to everyone's logic and intelligence? You can't just stop disease. If you just stop disease, we would have stopped disease ages ago. Are you kidding me? It's like, so there's no such thing as going too fast. You take a war to disease. The problem is you go too fast politicizing it. You go too fast having people that have absolutely no knowledge and can't even pass a biology class being decision makers. Or opinion makers, or listening to, you know, Brian Williams or any anchor on television talk about this, because those editors are corrupt and they are telling half truths. That's where things get too fast. And so you have to read the data and see what happens. But you know, science is science, and you have to let it do its thing, and the data is the data. The problem is people that get involved that are bureaucratic and politicized, that have control of the data. That's what goes too fast.
Are you concerned about, as we move into the fall season, Michael, with naturally the common cold and the flu season, and then add to the mix the coronavirus, what kind of a situation are we looking for, kind of in a witch's brewing pot, for more problems here in the United States?
Well, again, it's the corruption and the politicization. And how many flu cases are they going to call COVID?
Yeah.
How many deaths are happening from other diseases, but they had COVID, so they're going to blame COVID? I mean, there's story after story come out the past week of people that go sit for COVID testing, don't get the COVID testing, and get a positive report when they never were tested. So there's all sorts of corrupt behavior and financial incentive. And so what concerns me is that type of cocktail of illness that someone has and just counting it just COVID. I mean, we're sending the world to the Google School of Medicine. People are not equipped for this. You're not all supposed to be physicians, and we're listening to the wrong people, and we're getting our heads spun in BS. In a term where there's no such thing ever, a black and white medicine. It doesn't exist.
Absolutely.
Grow up.
Absolutely.
No black and white. And that makes it so easy for the media to twist it and not sound like they're lying. Because their audience isn't educated yet. And, you know, the more people that sit there like little children screaming for mommy, and they think mommy's the federal government, if there's too many of those, we got a disaster on our hands, because they're going to empower an entire regime of people that couldn't care less about the health of America, but will be happy to exploit it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very refreshing voice in sinister times. President of LabMD and also the author of the book, The Devil Inside the Beltway, Michael Dougherty. God bless you, man. Thanks. Come back soon, please. I'd look forward to having you back.
All right, thanks. Take care.
You bet. Thank you. Michael Dougherty, and telling it like it is. Like it is, and I appreciate that. Oh, let's see. We've got a whole bunch of things to take care of here. First and foremost, I want to remind you that coming up on August 15th through the 22nd, you know what that's going to be? Saturday to Saturday. It's going to be the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. Oh, my. And I've told you already they've got a really great concert planned for this coming Saturday the 15th, starting at 7:30 p.m. Neil McCoy. Now, let me tell you, this old boy Neil McCoy gets up there and puts on a show. It'll be fun. And then on Sunday, August 16th, the day after, they've got that Monster Truck Insanity starting there at 6 o'clock. And then looking into next week on Monday and Tuesday, they've got that Motor Rodeo on both Monday and Tuesday starting at 7 o'clock. I'm going to stop there because there's so much we've got to talk to you about, including the rodeo and everything else at your Cassia County Fair and Rodeo for 2020. Don't you miss a minute of it. Be sure and attend the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. And I know some more of our great merchants that invite you to be a part of it, including Burley Veterinary Hospital at 2869 Overland in Burley. Number to call, 678-5509. They've got 2 great doctors that treat both large and small animals, and believe me, after hours emergency work for their clients, it's a great place for your animals and their health. Burley Veterinary Hospital in Burley. And let's not forget Magic Valley Irrigation at 44 East, 500 South of Burley. Hello, Jeff and the crew at 678-3101. Boy, they've been offering irrigation system service and repair since 1978. These are good old boys at Magic Valley Irrigation. Last but not least, let's not forget Penny Main and the crew over at Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce, 679-4793, and they invite you to grow with us. Absolutely, the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce. And believe me, from agriculture to manufacturing, industry to recreation, Minnecasia, great place to work, grow, and thrive, and they're helping at the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce, 679-4793. Wow. That's going to wrap up that little portion, and we're going to, in just a moment, send it back, back over to, those cough drops will kill you. Send it back over to Sean, and then we're going to come back with Deb Hines and Dog Days right after our announcements at the bottom of the hour, so don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch, we'll see you in just a couple of minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Hey, don't forget our friends at the Urgent Cares. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Jerome Urgent Care in Jerome, and Twin Falls Urgent Care. You know what they're doing? Something really special for the schools and the athletes. They're providing $10 sports physical specials. That's right. And believe me, 100% of the money that you pay, $10 for these sports physicals, they're going to be donated right back to the school's athletic program. Wow, you better stop in today. There's no appointment necessary. Just stop in at Urgent Care of Twin Falls, 2392 Addison Avenue East, Riverview Urgent Care in Burley at 382 North Overland, and Urgent Care of Jerome. Remember, $10 sports physical special, and 100% of that money is going to be donated right back to the school's program for athletics. You stop into the Urgent Cares today. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to the telephone line, and a lady that is with the Minidoka Animal Control, and believe me, she's been really interesting to talk to over the last month and a half in regards of trying to find homes for puppy dogs, little puppies, and the adult dogs that have been left around the area. Here she is, Deb Hines. Good morning, Deb. How are you?
I'm good, Zeb. How are you doing?
Really good. You know, I hope you've got a couple of good featured dogs. I'm in a good mood this morning, and I just want to make sure that all our dog friends have homes. What's going on over there?
Well, I've got a couple. Well, I've got several, but I've got the couple that I want to highlight today. One of them is Frank. You know, if my name was Frank, my name was Frank, I'd have to change it. That guy. He's a Border Heeler Cross pup. He's tan. He was dumped on the desert. Okay? He's about 6 months old, and he's really kind of shy, but once he gets to know you, he is an absolute lover.
Okay. Now, he was found where? Out in the desert, you said?
Yeah, out on the desert.
Oh, my.
Yeah, he was just dumped out there. So, you know, he's a little, not iffy. He's not nippy or anything like that. He's just absolutely scared that he's going to get the crap beat out of him.
You know, let me ask you this, Deb, and you and I have known each other for a long time, and I know your love for animals and my love for animals. What kind of a person can just take an animal, a puppy or a dog, and just drop it off someplace? I mean, where's the humanity in that?
To my way of thinking, there isn't any. And honestly, I don't know how anybody can do it because, as you and I both know, our pets, including our horses, are our kids.
That's right.
I cannot ever see me taking anything that I have four-legged and dumping it somewhere. It'd be like me taking a kid and giving it away. How do you do that?
Yeah. And so you have Frank.
Seriously, how can you do that?
Absolutely. You have Frank, a border healer cross, 6 months old. He's in the prime age to really learn how to love and grow with the family, right?
Yep, he is. And, he, you know, if you want a working dog, he may be able to do that too. I don't know that much about him except that what we've dealt with him here. And like I said, he was skittish when he first came in, but the longer he's around us, the happier and that nicer he's become. So I'm sure that once he gets into the family, he is going to be one awesome pup.
Absolutely. Okay, what we got,
and
Frank.
He likes other dogs, so that's an upside too.
Absolutely. We got Frank. How about another one that you want to see that we get a good home for?
Okay, her name is Ray, and she is an Akita Husky Cross. She is about 3 to 4 years old, and the only reason I have her is because the lady that owned her is about 70-some years old, and the dog, she just was too much, and the lady, every time, she tried to walk or something, and the dog would try to help her, it was getting scary. So in order not to get her hurt, they brought her to me. She is house-trained. She loves kids. She gets along great with other animals. The only thing I don't know is how she is with cats, but we don't have cats, so I can't answer that question.
Deb, let me ask you, you said, and I want to talk a little bit about the bloodlines on this dog. Explain what you said, an Akita Husky Cross, is that right?
Yeah, an Akita Husky Cross.
Okay, what does that look like? I'm not sure.
She looks like, do you know what an Akita looks like?
Yes.
She's got a little bit square face and a husky.
Okay.
And they've got the tail that curls up and is really fluffy.
Ooh, yeah.
She kind of looks like an Akita, but her ears are the husky ears, and she's tall. Excuse me, and she's heavy. She's a bigger dog. The Akitas are bigger. But she is such a sweet, sweet dog. It's scary.
Well, would this be a good family situation dog?
Yes, it would, because she loves everybody, and she's great with kids. She thinks kids are the best thing ever.
Well, now
I think she was raised in the right kind of home, and she was treated as part of the family, and the ladies that brought her in cried.
Oh, my.
Because they didn't really want to give her up, but they just couldn't, they have to take care of the mom, so I understand that totally. This one I totally 100% get.
Would this be a good dog for
somebody else?
Deb, would this be a better dog for out in a rural area, a farm or ranch or a dairy, or would this also fit in the city?
Not a city dog, because
Okay.
it's not going to want to be in the house.
I see.
It's got that thick, heavy coat, so it's definitely an outside dog. It's not going to want to be in the house at all.
Okay.
I mean, she'll be in the house, but she would rather, especially at night, be outside.
Mm-hmm.
But she's going to be a very protective dog, too. So if you want somebody that's going to protect your yard, the kids, everything, this is the kind of dog that you want, because she's not aggressive, but she will let you know when somebody's there, and if she thinks you're in trouble, she is going to take care of you.
I see. What color is she?
Part of it.
What color is the dog?
She is black, tan, and white.
Ooh, sounds pretty. Black, tan, and white sounds like a very beautiful dog. And,
gorgeous.
Okay, I forgot to ask you what color Frank was.
Frank is tan and white with the the healer spot.
Right.
And he's got the little tip on his tail like the Border Collie, the telltale deal.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, she's got two dogs that she featured here this morning. One is called Frank, Border Heeler Cross, and the other one is Ray, a Nikita Husky Cross. And how would people, again, I say this every week, but these are two dogs that I really think need to find a good home. How would they get a hold of you, and what?
I don't want them here much longer.
Right. What do people do? What do they have to do to qualify to become the owners of these dogs?
Okay. Basically, what I need them to do is tell me when they'd like to come meet them, and we'll have a meet and greet. And I have to be honest, and I want the listeners to know this. We watch the dogs here, and the dogs choose their owners. If they're a little skittish, that dog probably won't work for you. But the next one you look at is probably going to fall in love with you. And in fact, Saturday, I had one of our dogs was out running in the yard, and we had some people pull up in their pickup, and the guy opened the door, and she jumped in. So obviously they adopted her because she knew she wanted to be there.
I see.
And that's a true story. It's funny to watch them, but that's what I do. Just come in and we have other dogs, but we'll find something that fits you that's going to work for you.
Absolutely. Now, let's get right down to the basics. The best times for people to call and or come by.
Okay, I'm usually here between 7:30 and 8, so if they want to start calling at 8 o'clock, and then we close at 1 Monday through Friday, and then Saturdays we close at noon.
Okay. Deb, I really appreciate it. I could not do your job because I know this old crusty cowboy would get too attached to all the dogs.
I know exactly what you're saying. I got one adopted the other day that I almost cried over, but that's okay. He's in a great home right now.
Okay. Deb Hines with Minidoka Animal Control. Thank you so much for being on the program this morning, and I certainly hope we find homes for Frank and Ray. Thank you, Deb. We'll talk to you next Monday on the program.
Thank you, Zeb. You have a great week.
Thank you much. The reason we put this on the air is there's just too many unwanted dogs, or they've been left someplace or orphaned or whatever the case might be. And these two dogs that we featured this morning, boy, do they sound good. Really, a little 6-month-old Border Heeler Cross, and then that Husky. Oh, my goodness. Beautiful, beautiful dogs. Be sure and contact Minidoka Animal Control and find out if those dogs may be for your family situation. Right now, let me see what I've got to get done here. I think I'm going to go to the weather forecast. And this is the first time in a long time that I'm right on time with the weather. And the weather is brought to you by Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and his efficient, great staff over at 331 North Road, Jerome. And you can check out all the delicious meats at scarrowsmeats.com. Number to call, 324-7657. And they've got all the pork products, all the hams, all the different flavors of bacon, all the pork chops, the marinated pork ribs, and of course don't forget all the tri-tips and the sausages. Whew, and the bratwurst are delicious. You're going to love Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
This high-pressure system will be sticking around for this week. Highs are going to be in the upper 80s to low 90s. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Today, sunny skies with a high of 86, a slight breeze out of the west, just as high as 21 miles an hour. Tonight, we are expecting clear skies with a low of 54. Tomorrow, sunny, high of 91. Still a little bit breezy, partly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 58. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, sunny skies. Highs going to be in the upper 80s. Now, look at your weather for Zebeth Reyes.
Thank you, Gina. And again, I want to mention our dear friend Don Scarrow of Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number to give him a call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time at Scarrows Meats. I want to set this up a little bit, and I want to say right off the get-go that Mr. Paul Harvey, I was one of the biggest fans of Paul Harvey and his news and commentary. And no one could sell a story like Paul Harvey could and did for years and years and years. And he had written a transcript of, it was called If I Were the Devil, back in 1965. And after reading this and studying this, and very unfortunately, what he had written about in 1965 is coming to fruition today in 2020. And I, of course, can't do the justice that Mr. Paul Harvey did when he read this on his program, but I'm going to read it and then add some of the footnotes to what really is going on today, and then I'd like to take some of your calls regarding If I Were the Devil. If I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness. And I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population. But I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. You. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers, with the wisdom of a serpent. I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting, so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs with metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbols of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want, until I had killed the incentive of ambitions. And what do you bet I could get the whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich? I would caution against extremes in hard work and patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing now. Paul Harvey had put this on the air in 1965. And every single paragraph in this transcript has or is coming to fruition. Talking about the politics, talking about the Bible and how it's been mistreated, and in recent days, the burning of our Bible. Talking about how they can dull the minds of our young people with the television and the shows, the filth that's portrayed nightly. Churches without a backbone and ministers and church leaders not standing up for what is right. All of this that I just read, very unfortunately, is coming to realism in our great United States. I'd like to have your thoughts in the time remaining. Quickly give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I read this, and I read it again before I went on the air this morning, and I thought every single thing, every mention of this transcript is right now on the horizon daily with our newscasts. Patriotism is on the wane, and our moral conduct is pathetic. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, and evil, just before someone gets defeated, they will fight the hardest to win. And I think evil is showing its ugly head and fighting as hard as possible because he knows what's capable of the American people that believe in God and the Christians in this nation that would pray for this nation, and what President Trump, the road he's wanting to take this nation down. So they are fighting. They're throwing all they got into this fight.
You know, it's kind of like a fire. You start a fire, and it takes more wood, it takes more material to keep the fire going and growing, and pretty soon the fire is big and bigger, and it needs more to consume to stay at that rate. And that's what's happening in this country, with absolutely the destruction of any moral or family values, no political values, and we've destroyed patriotism, we've destroyed the mom and dad situation in our country, and the churches, and now they're after our education. Everything that's written here is being destroyed because of evil and people that promote evil.
Exactly. When the government say they're trying to protect us, say we can't go to church and worship, but we can go to abortion clinics, and we can go to casinos, and we can go to liquor stores.
Yeah.
There is something wrong there.
But you know what's wrong, Doug, and I got another call waiting. I want to give everybody an equal shot. What's wrong is that we are not standing up and saying enough of this. We're not going to turn our cheek on this issue, or we're going to condemn ourselves.
Exactly, and like I've said, and many other callers on your program said, the only way evil can succeed is for good men to do nothing.
Amen. Thank you, Doug, for your call. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Zeb. Okay. You know, there's evidence, good evidence, that the prayer and the American people are wising up. So here it is quick. About a year ago, Rush Limbaugh would carry about 32 million listeners a day. Now, his numbers have been climbing steadily. Not long ago, he was at 44 million a day. This morning, he's at 55 million. And this is in one day. That's how many people tune into the Rush Limbaugh program, 55 million. And 60 million voted for Trump. So Tucker Carlson, who is really intelligent, he's hardline, he's a good conservative, common sense guy. He is the most watched program on cable news. The most popular channel on TV, period. Not ABC, not NBC, not CBS, definitely not ESPN, not CNN, MSNBC. It's Fox News. Fox News is kicking the living hell out of him. And Tucker Carlson is number one. See, these are signs that prayer and activism is working. I'm so encouraged that I just can't even hardly believe it. See, when we're in despair and fear, that's where the adversary wants us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will say this, after reading that transcript, if I were the devil, I think that there is in every occasion, every paragraph that I mentioned, a shovel that the left and evil is digging a hole to bury themselves.
Well, this is one more thing. What's happening with the left? I don't know about these governors yet, but the mayors are realizing it ain't working. So Ted Wheeler, Portland mayor, the dumbest man on earth, has decided that it's criminal to burn down the buildings. His logic was, well, because there was somebody in them.
Yeah.
Well, what did it matter? It was still. So he's changed his tune. Mrs. Lightfoot from Chicago, where you've spent a lot of time. I've been there, but I didn't go in. And she has decided that, the killing has got to come to an end, and the violence, and these are felons, is what she called them. And so she's all of a sudden decided that this has got to end. So all of a sudden the mayors are realizing this trail of destruction may lead to their very, ousting.
Absolutely. The trail of powder that they put over to start the fire was lit behind them, and it's going to blow up in their face. Randy, I've got to run, but I do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Hey, we love America, and people love America across this nation, and if you speak up, you're dashed and belittled, and they try to be rude, and they're just a minority. The majority is still pretty normal, I'm thinking.
Attaboy. I got to run. Talk to you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Want to remind everybody about our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They are all ready for you to have safe driving tires on your vehicle, all sizes, all tread designs for your cars, pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever you need tires for. These people know tires, and they can help you. All 7 locations. And believe me, when I say this, the best in brake service with highly trained technicians, front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. All of this for you to enjoy safe driving. You stop in and see any one of the 7 locations. James and Buell, Dan on Poline in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, and Trent on Overland in Burley. None better. They're the best, and they work hard to stay that way. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. That's it. We got to run. The way things were, the way things ought to be, and the 4 words that mean the most to us: in God we trust. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06, Zebeth Ranch. Take care. Thanks, Sean. Talk to you then.